This morning, as you do, you're in bed, you're on your phone, you're going through all your social media apps and all that. By default, I often go onto YouTube Studio, which, for if you don't know, is like the behind the scenes of your YouTube channel. That's where you can look at all your statistics and all of that good stuff. I've been on YouTube for a whole year. Within this 1 year alone, I've learned a lot of stuff. So the topic of today's video is me going through some things that I've picked up and learned during my first year on YouTube. As ever guys, welcome back to the channel. I never really know how to start these videos because do I stick with something the same each week or do I change it up each time? I'm going to go through several things that I've picked up during my first year of YouTube. And these 5 tips aren't necessarily things that I'm annoyed about that I wasn't doing before, but it's all part of this giant learning curve that comes with having your own YouTube channel. By learning these things and taking them with you in your future videos is only going to help you increase your chances of being successful as a YouTuber, whatever genre of video content that may be. So yes, although I'm a filmmaker, these tips that I'm going to go through in this video can apply to pretty much all areas of content creation on YouTube. Before we properly begin with today's video, and if you've been watching my channel for a while now and you're a fan of the music that I use, I've been meaning to share with you the website that I use for all my music, which is Uppbeat.io. Uppbeat is a relatively new free music platform for content creators like us. And I must admit, the first time that I went on Uppbeat's website and looked at the music library, I was genuinely surprised at the quality considering that it's free. There is a premium version of Uppbeat that you can sign up to, but I promise that the free version alone is good enough to take your videos on social media and online to the next level. I will leave my affiliate link down below in the description for if you do want to sign up to, yes, a free music platform for your videos. So let's waste no time, let's start with number 1, and it relates to what I said in the intro of me looking on my phone and opening YouTube Studio. If you're like me and are opening up that app on a regular basis, stop doing it. I know it's difficult, but I urge you to try and stop opening it up as often as you are. Everyone wants to see their progression as time goes on. It's only natural, especially at the early stages of having a channel. But I've spent so much time in this first year opening up the app on my phone just to see if I've gained 1 more subscriber or a few more views since I last checked, which was probably half an hour earlier. Especially in those earlier stages, every new subscriber feels like a fantastic achievement. And don't get me wrong, it is. But if you check as often as I initially did, and in some cases still do, for those days where there's a downward slope in your analytics and you might notice your subscriber count isn't increasing at the same rate or your view count isn't increasing at the same rate, you're much more likely to just assume that there's something wrong with your channel, which is highly unlikely to actually be the case. Remember one thing, and that is that there is over 7.5 billion people in the world. So there will be so many people as like-minded as you are and who share the same interests as you. It's simply just a matter of time when they'll come across you. And that can be achieved by creating more and more content, but also by always believing in the channel in the first place. My next top tip is to strive for, but not necessarily always expect, perfection in your videos. The whole aspect of making video content, particularly for YouTube, is always going to be a steep learning curve for everyone, even including people who are active filmmakers like me. Whilst I may have an advantage in some areas such as knowledge of editing techniques, or I might own more professional equipment for recording my videos in comparison to someone who simply wants to shoot on a mobile phone, there is so much more that goes into the creation of a video that we should all be aiming to master. Every time you start making your next video, treat it as though that could be the one that finally lifts off and gets you noticed. But at the same time, don't be disappointed if it doesn't. View count or subscriber count, to me, aren't the only measurements for success. And instead, by seeing things from a glass half full perspective and not being pessimistic about your video's performance, you're highly likely to have learned at least one thing from every video that you make that you can then take into your next video, which in my opinion is a form of success in itself. So yeah, always try and make the best version of that video that you can, but don't be disappointed if you look back at it and realize that there are things wrong with it. That's all part of that learning curve that we were talking about. Next up, redraft, redraft, redraft. I know that editing videos can take time, and if you're like me, who's currently still in the position where your channel is yet to be monetized, there is occasionally that feeling of is there any point in putting 100% of my effort into it all the time? One thing that I've learned, especially as a video editor, as a freelancer, is to always redraft your videos. Whilst it's easy to just go, yep, that bit's done, move on to the next bit, make sure you always return back to the beginning, watch it through several times, and I'll tell you why. Essentially, what we should all be trying to do is make our videos as concise as possible and trying to remove any areas of repetition or where there's seemingly no progression in the video. For example, if you are watching a film or a TV series on Netflix, or you're in the cinemas, wherever it may be, every single scene in that film or TV show is there for a reason. It's there to either motivate or influence the story in any way, big or small. That logic has to also be applied to our YouTube videos. Because of the nature of online content nowadays, everything has to be as concise as possible. Otherwise, the retention rate of that viewer may become bored or disinterested and increase the risk of them turning off and switching over to something else. And that is not what we want. So how do we avoid this? Go through your edits several times, not only to see if anything has been repeated, but also if you remove a few words or sentences without damaging the point that you're trying to make. Including this quality control check as part of your post-production, you're only increasing the chances of a higher retention rate from your viewers and hopefully and potentially more success in terms of your overall subscribe count or view count. Next up, number 4, and it's kind of something that I touched on really quickly earlier, is to not hate or dislike your earlier content on your channel. This may not apply to absolutely everyone watching this, but I personally have gone through my older videos at times and thought, what the hell was I thinking? But after 12 months on YouTube, I've now come to the conclusion that my channel is also an archive of my achievements and what I've created during that time. From this archive, you can see that progression over time, whether that's in the production quality of your videos, your confidence in front of camera, your storytelling ability, your thoroughness of reviews or tutorials, and much more. So definitely don't be ashamed or embarrassed of your first few videos. In fact, after watching this video, head over to your favourite YouTube channel, which can also be mine if that's the case, and skip right back to their first ever video. And I can pretty much guarantee that the quality of that video is nothing like what they're producing now. So there is your proof that improvement is a natural thing when it comes to creating video content on YouTube. By all means, be inspired by the quality of those videos that your favourite YouTubers are producing now, because then you've got something to work towards. But don't get yourself down if you're not quite there yet. You will get there, and it's just a matter of time, and usually by making more and more videos. And finally, if you're wondering why I've not mentioned the word algorithm yet, that's because I'm actively trying not to get caught up in all of that just yet. Especially during the early stages of me launching this channel, I was actively trying to make at least one episode each week, which you may have already heard is a way that YouTube may start to consider you as a genuine content creator. Whilst I'm sure that adhering to the recommended guidelines of the algorithm does have its benefits, I've realised not to get overly attached to that idea. And I've made the conscious decision to create videos on YouTube when I have both the physical and mental capacity to do so. At the end of the day, I want to enjoy this journey of seeing the development of my channel and watch it grow, rather than only feeling the reward at the end, which is a milestone that differs for everybody. And as a freelancer who's been increasingly busy over the past few months, I've simply been unable to commit that much time each week at the moment. I appreciate that that last section was probably more appropriate to YouTubers who are similar to me, but hopefully everyone still watching this takes my advice, and that is to always make sure you're enjoying what you make. Our favourite YouTubers might have had their channel for 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 years. Just from that alone, you can see how much time and dedication it takes for your channel to hit the ground running and be considered as a successful channel. And whilst we may not be monetized or have sponsored videos yet, we always need to make sure when we are making videos, it remains as a passion project, something that you can look back at when your channel has made it, and remember that the journey was just as enjoyable as the destination itself. And I know that is really cheesy, but it does make sense, and that is all that matters. That is it. A different video to normal, but hopefully as informative. If you're not a filmmaker, or if this is the first time you've seen a video of mine, some of my previous videos will help you to improve your general filmmaking skills for your channel. In fact, I'll leave a link I'll leave a link up there to something that I believe may be of benefit to you. But before you all go anywhere else, be a good one and make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And for everyone returning to the channel, thank you for continuing to support it. There are several people who always pop up in the comments and I thoroughly appreciate it. You guys know who you are and thank you. For everyone else, have a great week and I hope to see you again sometime soon.